Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Friday, December 4th, 2020, 10 a.m. Central, in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Death Angel's Shadow. I'm just talking about Shaft. I'm talking about Lord Gasumba, you darn right I am. Hey, George, how you doing, too? What's going on? Well, it's Friday. That's what's going on. That means it's a Building Adventures Day. We've been having a lot of fun using that town, partying down. We got that town. You know, we haven't actually had to look too closely at it because we've been having so much fun with the 30 Things Can Happen. Just taking some of the random results in there, rolling the old D30. It's green now, so it's green screened. This is my hand, apparently. That's kind of weird, huh? Anyway, taking some random results from 30 Things Can Happen and just testing them out, having some fun with them. We need to move that baby up here. Pop that open. What do we got there? 30 Things Can Happen. If you haven't seen this before, then I should let you know it's a Creative Mountain Games project from back in the day. I want to say 2006. And it's busted up into 3 overall sections. Well in the city, well in the country, well underground. Each of those has 10 subsections. And each section is divided up into 30 or 3 sets of 10 different potential results. We've looked at, well, at the city gates. A is guard results in this case, general's results, and B and C is merchant results. Number 3, a handful of guards are dicing and ignoring the gate, and one is obviously losing. What do you make of that? Well, you make whatever you want of it. That's the whole point to these random results things. I'm going to shove my monstrous melon over here in the corner. There we go. That's a little better. Anyway, you do whatever you want with the results. They're just meant to be springboards. They're meant to kickstart a game that has been stalling out or going slow or meandering, not finding a focus. And the truth is, if you could come up with an infinite number of things on your own, you don't need a list like this, really. But if you have a list like this, what you'll find by using it is that because they weren't things that you came up with, they will take your brain in new directions. And that's the whole point of it. Make you re-examine what you're doing, make you think of new ways to expand a moment. A handful of guards are dicing and ignoring the gate, and one is obviously losing. So there's a couple of things there. First off, there's a handful of guards. So, 4, 5, 6, something like that, right? Second off, ignoring the gate. That implies they should be watching it, and anything could be happening there. If then somebody is sneaking something through and the player characters notice that, They could alert the guards. They could look for a cut. They could follow that person and find out more. Perhaps the guard that is obviously losing is making a big fuss. Maybe the point is that this guard has talked to the other guards. Oops, sorry about that. Talked the other guards into dicing, into playing a dice game, and then by making such a big deal out of losing, he's just distracting them. He's drawing their attention away so that some other contraband can be brought through the gate without their notice because he's in for a cut. Any number of ways to play that. But you know what? We messed around with the gate one before, so let's move on to another. Well, in the city, on the street, we have official results, odd results, and more odd results. 13. A small boy is making strange markings in the dirt with a stick, and it appears to be a map. Where are we at there? Have you got a location somewhere in your world near a city that has yet to be explored by the player characters? Maybe this is a hook that gets them there. Maybe when they come up and ask the boy what he's drawing, he doesn't really know. He's seen a map and he's recreating it because he thought it was nifty. But he doesn't know what it's all about. He just knows there were these mountains and there was this lake and there was a city, and that kind of corresponds to where you're at. And then there was this sort of trail up into the mountains, and there's an X up there, and what's going on with that? So now you have a chance to, if they bite, if they bother looking at this, if they look over the kid's shoulder while he's drawing what he doesn't understand, you have a chance to set a hook in the players for this new place. And even if they don't go visit it right away, even if they're in the middle of something and days, game sessions later, they remember having seen this map, you can say, oh yeah, it looked kind of like this. And maybe at that point you'll have a chance to have recreated one. Yeah, you drew that down after you saw it and just stuffed it in your pocket. Here, it looked like this, and you hand it to them. Or if you have a whiteboard, you just scribble it up on there and give them an idea what it looked like. And now you have a way to lure them off to this dungeon that you'd had created, you had in your back pocket for some time. Or maybe it's a location of a module that you purchased and you've been trying to figure out a way to introduce it, but it just defies that for some reason. The mix of characters and the background of this place, you don't see a connection between them, so you find this, utilize this moment, this way of connecting them without actually having a tangible connection. It's just this odd left field connection. And that'll work too, right? On the street. What else we got here? Number 3. 5 guards rush by, and the last one isn't wearing shoes. Now that draws the attention. So you can definitely say that they will have noticed that. Does it imply that they're rushing off somewhere and maybe the last guard didn't even bother putting his shoes on because he didn't want to fall behind? Maybe he actually lost his shoes. Maybe his shoes were too big, and in the first part of that run, they've fallen off and he's lost them. Maybe, if they look a little more closely, the guard at the front of the 5 actually has the 5th guard's shoes. Any number of possibility, but they do seem to be in a rush. So if you follow them, Could take them some other place, right? Maybe you take them. 15. A large person is huffing and puffing, but not going anywhere. He grabs his chest and falls over. What do we do now? Well, they can save this person. They can watch who else comes up and saves them. You can do any number of things as far as helping this person out. Maybe you just run up and pick his pockets. I don't know what kind of player characters you've got in your campaign, but it's certainly possible that anything can happen. Well, in the city, in the alleys and slums. 7. A mule walks by, pulling a cart of bloody helmets. That implies something. I'm not sure what. Is there a war going on in your setting right now? Have these been scavenged from a recent battlefield? Is it possible there's a gladiator arena here in this city? Perhaps these are just being taken back to be cleaned and have the dents knocked out of them. Maybe these will be reused. If they were scavenged from a battlefield, perhaps these will be refurbished and sold at a lower price than a regular helmet. These are discount, used only once, by the enemy of the state, that nation one border over. And maybe that's part of it. Maybe if you look closely at the helmets, maybe they're not all uniform. Maybe they're not obviously all from a single army. Maybe the blood is actually dried. Maybe it's not even recent. Maybe these were plucked out of some tomb. Maybe somebody did a little tomb robbing and has gone through and collected all the helmets from there. Maybe there wasn't anything left. Maybe whoever robbed that tomb before this tomb robber stole everything else and left the helmets. Maybe there's more to be picked clean. Too often, I think, when chasing the boot, there's yes, maybe that fifth guard that's running without any shoes on has had his boots stolen, and the 5 of them are all trying to chase him down, and he's only the 5th one because he doesn't have any shoes, and it makes it hard for him to keep up. Bring out your dead. Yeah, George, this is a reminder of that, right? A pile of bloody helmets. But maybe the blood's not fresh, as we said. Maybe maybe it's dried blood. Maybe there was a pile of bodies in a tomb. Now, generally speaking, I think in most tombs, they're going to clean somebody and their armor, helmet, whatever, before they lay them to rest. So perhaps there's some sort of traps in the opening of these tombs, and these aren't from people that were laid to rest in the tomb, but rather people who were trying to grave rob or tomb rob. And they just piled up in the entryway. Maybe others have come and stripped them of armor and other goods, just didn't bother grabbing all the helmets. And now there's this one enterprising scavenger who's gone back and collected all the helmets. And now there's just a pile of skeletons there. We were talking yesterday, was it yesterday or the day before, about the tomb where you go in and the skeletons are not commanded to attack anybody who enters, but rather anyone who tries to leave. so that the deeper and deeper you go and the more and more skeletons you pass, you're just thinking, oh, it's just piles of bones all over the place. And it's not until you try to leave that they become animated, and now you have to fight your way out. Maybe they all used to have helmets. Maybe somebody has taken a grappling hook from the entryway and just spent a whole day fishing for helmets, yanking helmets off the heads of these laying around skeletal remains, collected all of these helmets, because it's tough to get armor off of a skeleton, right? And maybe it's tricky to get the weapons, but if you can hook a helmet, and a helmet's worth something, right? You got to bring that pile of helmets back to town, clean them up, maybe sell them to the armorer as is. I mean, you don't want to take the time. Maybe if you spend more time cleaning them, you lose money in the exchange because you've already spent a whole day collecting them. Let the armorer do that. He knows how to clean and reshape a helmet. So there you go. This individual maybe knows where a tomb is. So there's another hook you can use. Find a way. Alleys and slums. Let's see. 19. A guard questions why you were in the neighborhood and is picking his nose the entire time. Little comic relief? What's going on there? What's wrong with this guy? Picking his nose the entire time. He's going to get himself a nickname. Nose picker. What's up with that anyway? Why is he constantly doing that? What's he got up his nose? Where does he live that he breathes in stuff that winds up putting him in a position where he needs to pick his nose all the time? Disgusting. Disgusting results is what it says there. Number 10. Shanty structures are painted with festive colors. Well, that's interesting. So this ramshackle collection of buildings at one part of the slums are just brightly painted. These people are not going to be put down. Who are these people that are so happy? Where did they get the paint? Why would you? Well, you wouldn't spend a lot of money on paint. Is this part of some local alderman's attempt to put a bright face on a sad situation? What's going on with that? Who are the people involved? Who did the painting? Where did they get the paint? Why did they do that? 28, part of bizarre results. A green scarf floats by, trailing a ragged young girl who cannot catch it. Is it a nice one? Is it hers? Maybe she saw it going by and she started chasing it. Maybe she can tell you who lost it. Maybe it's a really expensive garment. Perhaps if she tells you who it belongs to and you gather it up and take it back to him, there's some sort of reward. Maybe if you refuse a reward, you get some information on something that's going on in town that you can become involved in. Perhaps this person could use some guardians. Perhaps this person knows something or requires the services of a group of adventurers to take something somewhere, to gather something for them. Let's grab another one. I think we did in a tavern already. Ooh, how about at the market? A, criminal results. B, dramatic results. C, kind results. Now remember, you can use these tables any which way you want. If you just want dramatic results, you just roll a 10-sider on that one 10-item table. If you don't have a 30-sider, roll a 6-sider. 1, 2, it's the first. 3, 4, it's the second. 5, 6, it's the third. And then you roll a 10-sider and determine which table you're on. In this case, kind results. 21. One bread merchant is giving away 2-day-old loaves with each purchase of a fresh loaf. Just a nice thing. Adding to the business. Had some extra loaves of bread. Why do you have so many 2-day-old loaves? What happened that you had all these loaves from 2 days ago and didn't sell them? That you have so many extras to give away now? Maybe something happened 2 days ago that kept him from selling his wares. What would that have been? Somebody came by bullying him? Threatening him? Looking for protection money? Maybe there's somebody taking advantage of people in this market. And it might fall to the adventurers to do a little something about it. Obviously, the bread merchant is a generous type. Maybe the other merchants have been picked on too. Maybe they'd all pool some money to get the adventurers to go talk to somebody and relieve the pressure. 22, the next one. A guardsman is helping several merchants right a toppled cart. All right. Maybe you can help out. Set it back up. Get a wheel back on that's popped off, perhaps. Maybe they have a number of things on the cart, and if you help them out, here you go. Take a couple of these daggers. Yeah, they're used. We just gathered them up. They were turned in, traded in for nicer weapons. But you can have one. Have one of those. It's not bad. Take this one, take that one. Maybe after you get them back and you clean them up, one of them's actually a pretty nice little dagger. Perhaps even magical, you discover later. They didn't know it. They weren't aware. And now you have yourself a pretty fine dagger just for taking the time to help out with a cart. Maybe these daggers are unusual in that they appear to be ancient daggers of a kind that hasn't been seen in this kingdom for several centuries, and they suggest, just by being here, that perhaps they've come from some ancient tombs. Maybe there are barrows nearby in the hills. And now, because these have showed up, and when you go and ask the merchant, where did you get these anyway? He tells you that some guy was looking for better weapons who he used to see around every few days but hasn't seen in a couple of weeks. Said he was exploring the barrows. And you know, merchant isn't going to turn these things down just because of their potential origin. They're still, they can still be melted down and turned into modern weapons, even if it's tough to sell. Maybe they were stolen and are hot with a name or crest on the weapon, says George. Absolutely. Stolen family weapons from some noble family. Maybe just being seen with these puts the mark on you. Maybe the adventuring group gets mistaken for the people that stole them in the first place. Now you've got yourself a local enemy, a whole family that's out to get the adventuring group because they've decided you wound up with these things, and it's obviously you're the one who stole them. So now you have to deal with that, have a constant enemy. Maybe they are ancient. Maybe they were stolen from some tombs, but the family whose seal crest is on them still exists. Maybe you've robbed the graves of their ancestors, or now appear as if you have because you're carrying these around. Quite possibly. Let's do one more, but let's move to another table here. In the castle or keep, we've got the hapless help results, noble results, and ignoble results. 16. The lord of the castle is looking out over his lands and deep in thought on some matter. Well, I don't have to tell you what he's thinking about. It depends what's going on in your campaign. Maybe you walk up, now you see this noble lord, and you're there in his castle. You're a guest, perhaps. And now when you walk up to him and say, what gives? What has you so contemplative? What has you staring off and he says, you'll never guess. And of course, they come up with something. Is it because of your daughter? Is your daughter missing? Or they say, have you been having problems with the next kingdom over, whatever the name of it is? And of course, you know what? When players give you that, run with it. For two reasons. Number one, it makes it seem like they know what's going on before you know what's going on. Or they seem clever because they guessed correctly, even though no matter what they said would have been correct, right? And two, they're essentially telling you what they will invest in. When they do that kind of guesswork, when they say, I wonder if such and such is happening over in what's its name land, as soon as they say something like that, they've invested. They've told you what was already in their mind, subconsciously or consciously, was intriguing them about the world that you've created, that they've begun exploring through your campaign. They've essentially said, hey, you told us about this and that and this and that and this other thing and this other thing. This was the thing that actually intrigued me. That's why they brought it up. That's why they plugged it into this situation, because somehow in their mind, this was the most interesting thing. So it's the first thing they think of when they think somebody else is thinking about something. So there you go. Always utilize any kind of interest that the players show as a springboard as well. And that's what's nice about these little tables here, is they leave a lot of room for the players to get involved and to tell you what they're thinking. And that's always a useful thing. So, all sorts of adventures being built there. Where are we at? Yeah, we're just about there. So I'm going to say that we should just move on. Thanks so much for coming around today. Thanks for following the channel and being in the chat. I do appreciate it very much. This has been a Building Adventures Day using a town with 30 things can happen. Part 3. And don't forget, 10 a.m. tomorrow, we'll be doing GM reviews. I'm not sure what we're going to look at yet. I've got a couple of books that I've been checking out lately, looking back on from my collection of stuff. Maybe we'll just pop in one of those and just kind of take a trip back to the early 2000s. Got a lot of stuff from there that's been interesting me lately. Rules retrospective on Sunday, Weekly news and announcements on Monday, cartography and world building on Tuesday, campaign discussion on Wednesday, GMing tips on Thursday, back around the horn to building adventures next Friday. If you're catching up with this on YouTube, thanks very much. Subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it if you give a thumbs up on any videos that you're watching and enjoying, and feel free to leave a comment with constructive criticism or interesting take on a subject we might be covering. An attaboy, a pat on the back, it's all good. This has been the OK Grognard Show from beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Bye-bye.